This series contains adult language and descriptions of graphic violence. Listener discretion is advised.
Cavalry Audio.
Welcome back to Death by Southwest, the podcast where every week we bring you a different grisly murder story unique to the American Southwest. I am your host, Margot Carmichael, and I'm here with my co-host and sister,
Jenna Schneider.
And you are listening to what I believe is going to be episode 5. And before I tell you about what our murder story is today, let's just catch up because it's been a week. It's the holidays.
The holidays are over.
The holidays are over, but New Year's is still coming up.
I don't like New Year's.
I don't like New Year's either. I feel like I've been in a food coma / drinking bubble forever now. And it's only been, honestly, probably 4 days. But it's just
felt like 4 years.
Oh my gosh. It was like dinner, brunch, lunch, everything. And I thought, great. I'm sad that it's over, but I'm happy it's over. And then I remembered, but it's not because New Year's is coming up.
Yeah.
Forget
New Year's.
Does it sound like I've lost my voice a little bit?
Yes, it does.
It does, huh? It's kind of annoying. Well, apologies to all of you listeners that I've just been talking and drinking and eating nonstop for 4 days, and that has caused my voice to sound like this. So
drinking and eating.
I don't know.
It makes your voice go.
I don't know.
Ooh, I know what might have made it go. A lot of fire logs in the fire.
That's right. We've had a lot of fires. Mm-hmm. We have had a lot of fires. Anyways, happy holidays to everyone. And
if you celebrate.
And moving right along, our story today focuses on the murder of Brianna Denison, who is a college student who went missing suspiciously from a friend's house in Reno, Nevada on January 20th, 2008. This was a story that made national headlines and gripped the community of Reno and honestly the country. I had never heard of it, but it was a pretty big story because, well, you'll find out.
I had never heard of it. I have never heard of it. But also I was trying to think, where was I in 2008? I mean, I was still on the earth. So if it gripped the nation, I just wasn't part of the nation that was being gripped. But that's not shocking.
I went to Mark's aunt and uncle's the other night, and they're from Reno. They're in town for the month. And so we went to their Airbnb and had dinner. And I was talking about the podcast and saying, I actually think I have our next story. And I think I'm going to do the next one on a murder that happened in Reno. And his aunt immediately started rattling off like a handful of different murders.
What number did she get to before she landed?
3.
Oh,
and
cool.
She landed on this one. She said, oh, that was a tragic, terrible one that people talked about for years.
Oh.
Yeah. So I had never heard of it, but it is a very interesting story. And we're going to get into that in a few minutes. But we're going to first talk about Reno. So I knew nothing about Reno. I couldn't even tell you where it was in Nevada.
I can't either.
Okay.
Well, this is what I think I know. It's the second largest or most populous city.
Very close. It's the third.
Oh, what's the second?
Henderson.
Oh.
I don't know what Henderson is, but it is the third largest city in the state behind Henderson and Las Vegas with a population of about 270,000 last year. Yeah. It's in the northwest section of Nevada along the Nevada-California border, about 22 miles from Lake Tahoe. And it's known as the biggest little city in the world.
I think I might have heard that.
It's known for its, or famous for its shining neon lights and casinos. I guess it's like it's mini Vegas.
Well, right. It's Nevada. So there's a lot of gambling that's legal.
Yep.
Different kinds of gambling, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But since we talked about Nevada before, I just had a few questions to see if you remember.
Aye.
What is the capital city of Nevada?
Oh, here we go.
Because in episode 1, when I asked you this, you said, I don't know. I knew it in 5th grade.
I can't remember. Don't tell me yet.
Can I give you a clue?
Yes.
It's a double letter thing.
Yeah. I wanted to say Silver City, but I know that's New Mexico.
City's the second word.
Not Culver City. Oh,
You're so close. I can see it on the tip of your tongue.
now I swallowed it.
Carson City.
Carson City.
Okay, I don't think that we actually covered some of these questions, but these are quick little funny ones. In what year did Nevada become the 36th state? Who knows this? No one knows this. Take a wild guess.
1926.
1864. What industry in Nevada has the most employees?
Mining.
Tourism.
Duh.
What wild animal would you find more of in Nevada than anywhere else in America?
Gila monster.
Good guess. This blew my mind. Wild horses.
Huh.
Yeah, cool, huh?
Arizona's got some too. I've seen some.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it makes me both sad and...
No, you should be happy about wild horses. They're wild and running free, living their lives. No one's racing them around the Rito or whatever.
Yeah.
Or the racetrack.
But then, like, where do they find food and water if they get hit by a car?
Okay, they're not like roaming on the freeways. Hopefully. I mean, they could. I almost got... Okay, we'll talk about that later.
Okay. In the United States, Nevada is only one of 7 states to not have what?
Time zones.
I don't know if that's true, but that's a really good guess. A lottery.
Oh, well, because there's so much gambling, they couldn't fit in a lottery, maybe.
No, that's probably true.
Huh.
Yeah. I just wanted to like get us in this Nevada state of mind. So I have a list here of a lot of really cool things to do in Nevada, but I think I'm going to skip it. And we're going to go to some interesting, I know we did this last time with Austin, but I kind of like it. Fun Reno facts that will shock your friends.
Oh, I thought the ones we just did were kind of fun Reno facts.
No.
These are more fun.
This is Reno specific. Those were just Nevada.
Oh, okay.
Reno always makes the top 10 lists of, what do you think? Most something city.
Oh, most vacationed city.
Ooh, most drunken city.
Oh.
First, there's the fact that more than 18% of the residents are considered to be binge drinkers with an average of 14.5 drinks consumed monthly per person, which, I'm sorry, I'm not going to comment on my own drinking habits, but 14 drinks a month?
Right. That could be, okay, so.
It's one every other day.
That's right. That seems like
Doesn't seem like a binge drinker.
An adult who likes to have a drink after work, perhaps?
With dinner.
A glass
Whatever.
of wine?
Right.
Huh.
So
Interesting.
like, if it was 14.5 drinks per weekend or per Saturday night.
Binge drinker.
Binge drinking. But per month, there's 30 days in a month generally. 31, 30, whatever.
Also, I think just like anything, it's underreported. Like if I'm a true binge drinker, I'll probably, like when you go to the doctor, I don't know, I don't, but like if I did, I'd probably underreport what I did.
It says how many drinks a week do you have? I'm like, oh, well, I don't know.
0.
6. Oh, 0. Shit. And also, probably not coincidentally, Reno ranks 3rd for liver disease.
I don't think that's coincidental at all. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, not coincidental.
Oh, that's awful.
Terrible. This is interesting.
That's not a fun fact.
So interesting facts, maybe not fun or funny. Reno used to be the divorce capital of the country. It is not anymore. It has been taken over by Panama City, Florida. But back in the day, Reno was a mecca for making your marriage go away because it required only 6 weeks of residency. And then it pushed the paperwork through fast, like a quickie divorce, mostly because that was a big moneymaker for people.
Do you also
Reno.
Do you also think it's because they were very drunk?
Or I was going to say,
get married in Vegas, divorced in Reno.
Yeah. Like, well, by the time we got married in Vegas, let's go to Reno to Tahoe or something. By the time we get there, you're like, fuck what I do. Let's divorce. Maybe. The city of Reno and the state of Nevada led the United States in multiple areas of like rankings of things. Reno and Nevada are in the top 5 for alcoholism, bankruptcies, gambling addiction, high school dropouts, suicides, and tobacco use.
Literally, those all go together. Or like they could all have a link to one another.
Totally.
Yeah.
Not anything to brag about, really, though, for Reno or Nevada.
Sorry, Reno.
Sorry, Reno.
Did you hear any like uplifting facts about Reno?
Here's a cool one. It's not uplifting, but it's not sad. DB Cooper hijacked a plane going to Reno. No, not a good one. Oh,
it's not a bad one. I really don't. I know the gist of it.
DB Cooper, it was the most successful hijacking of an airplane in the history of the United States, assuming that Cooper lived, which no one knows. In 1971, he hijacked a Boeing 727 that was traveling between Portland and Seattle, but eventually landed in Reno. The plane stopped to collect $200,000 in ransom money and 4 parachutes. And DB Cooper leapt out of the plane somewhere above southern Washington. That's kind of a, Cliff Notes version. Okay, Reno is home to a legendary plane crash. In 1985, Galaxy Airlines Flight 203 crashed just a mile and a half from the airport. 70 people died and 1 single person on the flight survived. Isn't that crazy?
Isn't it called like survivor's remorse?
Oh my gosh. I'd imagine.
Galaxy Airlines, what a cool name.
Mm-hmm. 1 single person on the flight survived, George Lamson Jr. Some people were awestruck by his survival, but people do survive plane crashes, and in a town full of gamblers, no one should be surprised when this statistically unlikely occurs.
Wow. In 85, and this, whatever his name was,
George Lamson Jr.
How old was he?
I don't know.
I also want to ask, was he drunk?
I don't know. Look up list. So those are all my interests. I guess none of those were really that fun. Those were kind of depressing Reno facts.
I liked them, but yeah, they weren't uplifting.
They were not. The last thing I want to talk about briefly before we get into this story about Brianna Denison, because it does kind of relate to our story, a brief overview of recent crime in Reno. So the chance that a person will become a victim of a violent crime in Reno, such as armed robbery, aggravated assault, rape, or murder, is 1 in 177.
That seems like not good odds.
Not good odds, right? And crime is one of their top issues. In 2014 to 2016, Reno was averaging about 0.53 rapes per 1,000 residents.
Oof.
And in 2017 to 2020, it was 0.87 rapes per 1,000 residents. I mean,
it's going up.
It went up a lot. That's I don't understand what the 0.53 or 0.87 is, like half of a person, a fourth of a person. I don't really get it. But I just know that number has gone up pretty significantly. Not great. Okay, let's jump into our story for today. And like I mentioned earlier, this is the murder of Brianna Denison, who was a college student who disappeared from her friend's house where she was staying in Reno, Nevada in 2008.
January 20th.
January 20th, that's Mom's birthday.
And typically right around MLK Day.
You're damn right it is.
Also, her initials prior to getting married were MLK.
That's right. Well, our victim for today, her initials were not the same as MLK. Her name was Brianna, I'm not sure, Zunino Denison.
Zunino.
Mm-hmm. Cool middle name, huh?
So BZD. Those are her initials. I'm sorry. You looked like you thought I was having a seizure.
I was like, BZD. Yeah, BZD. Cool. That's cool initials.
Zunino. Yeah.
Brianna was born on March 20. Some people said March 28th, some said March 29th. You'd think that would be an easy fact to confirm, but I'm not sure. So March 28th or 29th, 1988.
This took place in 2008, so she was 20 when she went missing / murdered, killed. Yeah. Oh, yeah, because it was before her birthday. Okay.
Yep, 19. Her mom's name was Bridget, and her father, Jeff, passed away. I don't know how, but passed away when Brianna was very young. She was 6 years old. She also had a younger brother. I saw one article that called him Brian, but everything else called him Brighton. So take that for what it is. What I could find out about Brianna. So she was 19 at the time. She loved children. She loved animals. She had a dog that she was obsessed with named Ozzy, and it looked like in the pictures like a collie mix of some sort. She was very passionate about travel, and she loved getting to know cultures outside of her own culture here in the United States. She also lived in Rome for a year when she was younger. I don't know if it was like a study abroad situation or...
Unless it was when she was 18, I would kind of maybe assume not, because she was just 19 when she passed.
Right. But like I went and I stayed in France with that French family for like 2 months or something. So a year seems like a long time when you're a teenager, but Who knows? Yeah.
I'll put it on the lookup list. Who knows if we'll find more.
Yeah, we could probably find some more on that. She grew up in Reno and attended Reno High School. She graduated in June 2006. And after graduating, her family moved to Mendocino, California. And she attended Santa Barbara City College. And she decided to study child psychology because she said that when she was younger, being in therapy really helped her overcome the loss of her father at such a young age.
That makes sense.
Yeah. In 2008, she was a sophomore at Santa Barbara City College. And she decided during her winter break, she was going to come back to Reno to visit friends and family, people that she had gone to high school with, things like that. So she was going to spend the week with her friend from high school, Katie Hunter. And her name is spelled K-T, like the letters, not Katie. But that's how you say it, right? Katie.
I assume so.
Yeah.
How else might you say it?
K-T.
That's the same thing, isn't it?
So she came into Reno to, visit with friends and family. She was staying with Katie Hunter for a week, and then she was going to be going back to college the following week. Katie lived off campus, but near the University of Nevada, where I think she was a student. On the night of January 19th, Brianna and her friends were attending a number of different events associated with something called the SWAT 72 Snowboarding Festival. They were going to parties. And so on that night, they all got ready, drinks. They were headed out to a couple events. And around 3 a.m., they were finally kind of ending their event hopping evening. And they decided to have an early breakfast at Mel's Diner inside the Sands Regency Casino Hotel. This was around 3 a.m. Around 4 a.m., Katie and Brianna were dropped off by 4 male companions who drove away as the girls entered and walked into Katie's house. It was a 2-level brick home that she was renting.
The 2 ladies got dropped off by, you said 4 males.
4 males that they had met throughout that evening.
And were those 4 males there at Mel's Diner? Presumably.
Presumably. Thank you. Yeah. Yep. So when they got home, Katie also had a roommate who was already home, got home a few hours earlier, and had already gone to bed. So the girls, long night, they were tired. They changed into pajamas. Katie gave Brianna 2 blankets, a pillow, and a teddy bear to sleep with on the couch.
Aww.
On the downstairs level.
They were drunk, maybe, presumably.
Yeah.
And she's still such a good host. Aw.
And so this couch was a leather couch that was positioned in front of an unlocked glass paneled front door. And I say unlocked because it was not uncommon for the girls to leave the door unlocked. There was at least 2 roommates living in this house. And so they typically left it unlocked so that they could come and go freely. Somebody forget their keys. They didn't want to deal with it. So Brianna got all set up on the couch with her 2 blankets, pillow, teddy bear that said goodnight to Katie. Katie went upstairs to a room that apparently she shared with her roommate, which seemed strange, but okay. I don't know.
I got a lot of questions there, but
I mean, if you're renting a whole 2-story house, why are you sharing a bedroom?
How many bedrooms was it?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It seemed weird to me.
Maybe it's just a 1-bedroom home.
Or maybe there were additional roommates that were not mentioned in any of this.
Yeah.
So the roommate was already upstairs asleep. So Katie went upstairs. She took her dog with her and locked the bedroom door behind her, apparently.
Last words were, if you need anything, just come in my room.
The next morning, Katie woke up around 9 a.m. So remember, they got home at like 3, 4 o'clock.
She didn't go to bed probably till around 4.
Right.
After handing the blankets and the teddy bear and a glass of water and trucking upstairs, taking her dog.
So Katie woke up around 9 o'clock, which is only a few hours later, really. And she went downstairs to wake Brianna so they could make breakfast, plan their day. But she didn't find Brianna where she had left her on the couch. Instead, all she found was a small blood stain on the pillow that Brianna had fallen asleep on just hours before.
Like a teeny tiny blood stain?
Silver dollar sized, apparently.
Oh. Where do you think? Well, I'm sure you know, but where do I think that came out of?
Her ear? Ooh. Nosebleed?
I think ear, nose, also could drip out your mouth.
Right, but
or your eyeball.
Terrible to think about blood coming out of any of those places. And also why? She just went to bed. They were fine. Either way, she wasn't there. Katie had a sinking feeling in her stomach and decided to call Brianna's mom. And then after she talked to Brianna's mom, she decided to call the police.
Dispatch, this is Robin. Can I help you?
Hi, I need the police at my house. My friend spent the night last night on my couch. She's gone, and there's something that looks like blood on the pillow, and all her stuff's still here.
So police discovered that not only was Brianna not there anymore, but her shoes, her cell phone, and her purse were all still at the house.
Don't miss what happens next in today's episode. We'll be right back after a short message from our sponsors. I feel like this is a theme. Ish. As in a couple other episodes, maybe only one.
Esmeralda.
The shoes or the purse, the thingy was still like the most essential items that a lady doesn't want to leave anywhere, or a person even.
Yeah, you're not leaving without your phone. No one's leaving anywhere without their phone on purpose nowadays.
Right.
Yeah. Apparently she left the house. However she left, we don't know yet, but she left the house wearing only sweats and a white tank top, barefoot, nothing else.
I bet it was chilly too.
It was. It was very cold. It was winter. We're in January in Reno, which is tons of snow, very cold. Brianna was officially reported missing that morning of January 20th. Katie told police officers that morning that she hadn't heard any noises after going to bed, that her dog had never barked. There were also no signs of forced entry and no signs of a struggle inside the house. But also, we already know that like they frequently left the door unlocked. So
there wouldn't have to be a struggle to get in.
Right. There would be no signs of forced entry.
What she said about her dog didn't bark.
Scares me is like the dog not barking. Did he know that person that came in? Did they sleep through a dog barking? Why did Brianna not scream?
Okay.
She was upstairs in her bedroom.
Sometimes
with the
my
door
dog
locked.
passes out.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe she passed out and the dog did a little yip, a bark,
and she
didn't wake up.
Right.
Her door was locked. I wrote that down. Like, why was her door locked?
I actually, in my brain, flagged that as well. I was like, you don't lock your front door, but you lock your bedroom door? Weird. So, I mean, the question was, where's Brianna? Where did she go? Police initially thought just a missing person case. She was drunk. She wandered off. So she didn't turn up, you know? But definitely friends and family were already thinking like, there's blood on the pillow. She left all of her belongings. She wasn't that drunk when she got home, apparently. So where is she? What do you think happened at this point? I know it's pretty early to make a hypothesis. But...
I'll make one.
Okay.
I think an ex-lover text. Oh, I don't know. Well, maybe you'll tell me if you look in her phone. I don't know. Something about like someone said, come outside. Maybe I don't know. I actually don't know. Maybe an ex-lover texted her and said, come outside, come meet me. Then I thought maybe she ordered a pizza and she went outside to get it.
And was just like random.
Yeah, I thought all of those things, but I don't think that's right.
We'll see. So in the days following her disappearance, which at this point it's just a disappearance, the Reno Police Department spoke to the roommates where she was staying. They told the detectives that when they woke up that morning, one of the two blankets that Katie had given Brianna was still on the couch. The second blanket was lying on the floor of the kitchen, roughly 6 feet from the sofa and kind of on the way if you were walking from the sofa to the back door.
Where was the teddy bear?
Strangely, the teddy bear was nowhere to be found.
Oh, creepy.
So the detective who was on the scene, Detective Jenkins, observed that not only did the pillow have a little blood on it, but so did the blanket on the floor, had a little small blood stain on it. And he also noticed when he was walking around the house that the windows and the doors had very few window coverings or blinds or anything, which he made a mental note that if you were standing on McKay Court or College Drive, the two streets that this house was kind of on, you had an unobstructed view right inside the house. So anyone who was looking inside this house could have seen Brianna lying on the sofa as she slept. Yeah. So police proceeded to conduct a forensic investigation on the house, the room where Brianna was sleeping. They found her DNA, obviously, and they found DNA belonging to an unidentified male. Now, your college kids renting a house. How many? I mean, I'm thinking to myself, and without like sounding terrible, when I rented an apartment when I was going to U of A, how many unidentified, like, and by that I mean they haven't committed a crime, they're not in the system. Males' DNA may have been on the doorknob, on the sink, on the whatever, just fingerprints, a cough, tons.
Forget about not college kids, just my home. There's a lot of like Michael's dad, Michael's brother. Also, maybe you were at the store and rubbed up against, like,
Exactly.
DNA. We should also put that on the lookup list. I know a couple things that are surely DNA, but like, how do they,
Skin cells, hair, saliva.
fluids?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they found DNA belonging to an unidentified male. Some DNA was on the doorknob to the back door. I believe a few other places in the house. They also determined that the blood on the pillow did belong to Brianna.
What about on the blanket?
Yes. On the pillow, there were actually 3 distinct blood stains and smears of mascara. They were all irregular in shape, approximately 1 to 3 inches. And in one of these stains, there was also saliva and mucus or phlegm. So
I think she was crying.
right. So
Is that right?
Yeah. The forensic
Aw.
pathologist concluded that Brianna had appeared to be smothered with the pillow. So somebody was pressing it so hard against her face that it caused some type of nosebleed or something, or she bit her lip. They couldn't determine exactly where the blood came from, but she was bleeding due to the pressure of the pillow on her face and crying, yes, at the same time. Now investigators thought this is not just a missing person. This is a potential kidnapping scenario.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say this is well, I guess it could still be either a potential murder scenario.
Well, we know it's a murder because this is death by Southwest.
Right.
But at the time, they're still hoping she's alive and she's just been kidnapped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, she was crying and phlegming.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. So police began going through Brianna's phone and her text messages, trying to uncover anything that may indicate, where she had gone or who had taken her. They found that Brianna had sent and received multiple text messages with a former boyfriend in the time leading up to her disappearance, the last one being at 4:23 a.m.
Come on, I did say something about a former lover.
You did. Unfortunately, this boyfriend was living in Oregon at the time.
Lucky him.
So he was not a suspect.
I mean, lucky him for not being a suspect.
When I was writing this, I was like, how do I create more suspense around this boyfriend?
Well, you did.
But I can't, he was immediately ruled out as a suspect. So
Yeah, but I was suspensed for a moment.
good. That's the goal. So on January 21st, investigators, she was reported missing on the 20th. On the 21st, they began sweeping the University of Nevada area in search of her. The FBI got involved in the search efforts, and more than 1,700 volunteers also helped to search the 100 square mile area that they deemed kind of the potential where she could be.
1,400? 1,700?
1,700 volunteers over the course of the month. I don't think that was all at once.
Fine. That
Yeah.
still makes me think, like, if I go missing, who's coming out for me?
It's interesting because, and I remember I said that I was talking to Mark's aunt about this story that I might do. And she said the whole community really pulled together. This became, because it was just so, she was a sweet, lovely girl, grew up here, whatever. Even if she's not a sweet girl, who cares? She was a young woman
That
who
didn't deserve to
she was
do whatever
taken.
happened.
And people were just, I would imagine, horrified, and this is going to maybe sound
Interested.
bad, but fascinated by the
Interested,
fact,
yeah.
that she was just taken from her home, not her home, but her friend's home, in the middle of the night. So in addition to these search crews, authorities employed the help of dogs and helicopters to comb the areas near University of Nevada and the surrounding snowy foothills and other isolated areas in the kind of vicinity. They searched through the neighborhood that she disappeared from. They went door to door, knocking, just asking people did you see anything? They also interviewed multiple sex offenders. Apparently there were quite a few sex offenders in the area. They interviewed all of the ones that they could get in contact with and identify, but to no avail.
Wow. I feel like something's going to have to do with snow in this story, this event. this awfulness. And also, aren't there, like, there's cameras everywhere. I don't know if that's actually true, but I'm always
Not
led
in
to
2008.
Okay, yeah, good point. Thank you.
Not,
Yeah, good point.
13, 14, 15 years ago.
Yeah, you're right.
It's a residential
That's when they were
neighborhood.
just starting to come about. Yeah.
It's not like a city.
Yeah.
So nothing. They had nothing at this point. These several days, search crews, dogs, helicopters, door to door, sex offender interviews, nothing. And the suspicious, the male DNA that they found at the house, it didn't yield any hits in the law enforcement databases.
Meaning the person, whoever's DNA, not that that person did the thing, whatever the thing is, but meaning they didn't have a record, right?
They didn't have a record that required DNA at least.
Right. Because some people have a record without DNA.
Sure, you can be stealing, you can have a car accident, you can have a misdemeanor.
DUI.
Yeah, DUI. You can have a misdemeanor. You're not taking DNA for that though.
Got it.
Put a little note in your brain on that one.
About DNA.
So for weeks, about 2 to 3 weeks, hundreds of volunteers showed up daily at the Brianna Search Operations Center, which was set up inside a local casino. Flyers, along with blue ribbons that said, "Got Bree," which I don't really understand, were distributed, and volunteers kind of ignored and went out in the harsh, freezing Reno winter to participate in grid searches in designated areas. But sadly, there were no signs of Brianna Denison.
Got Bree to me sounds like
Got milk?
Yeah.
I know, I don't really get it.
Also, I want to know the exact weather because
cold, snowy, not Chicago winter because we're not
sure.
It's different, but
we're high country desert here.
Cold and snow, definitely snow. So over these, several weeks, investigators were searching for answers, obviously, about what happened to Brianna. They had barely any leads. And so they came up with an idea and thought they would look into earlier non-lethal attacks on young college girls in the area, sexual assaults in the area. They hoped to find some kind of link that might, connect to Brianna's disappearance, whether it be physical evidence, a calling card, like something that happened over and over, or both. So,
can you backtrack for a second?
Sure.
Can you say more about the calling card? What do you mean by that?
This is going to be a silly example, but I think like Home Alone, when they robbed the houses and Marv would always leave the sink running in the houses. Yeah. That's his calling card.
Oh.
It's like leaving a little...
goodness you explained that because I definitely thought of like a calling card where you put minutes on it.
No. It's like if I was robbing houses and I left a lipstick kiss on the front door every time I robbed a house. It's your little kind of thing.
Got it. Thank you.
So they found a report from December 16th, 2007. So this was just like a month prior.
A year and a month prior.
No, because we're in January 2008. Yeah, so just about a month prior, when a Reno police officer, Andrew Hickman, and several other officers had been dispatched to an address in the 1400 block of North Virginia Street to take a complaint from a young woman who had been kidnapped and sexually assaulted. The woman explained that she lived alone in an apartment. This apartment was only 500 yards from the house where Brianna was taken. So that's just a mental note for you.
Do you know how many feet's in a yard?
3.
Yeah, like 3.4.
So
I don't know why I whispered that.
And so the night of December 16th, this woman had arrived in her car at her apartment at around 2 a.m. And she was getting out of her car in the parking lot when she was physically assaulted by a stranger who knocked her from behind, knocked her to the ground and attempted to choke her, and then placed his hand over her nose and mouth and caused her to pass out. He then carried her to a pickup truck, put her inside and covered her face with a hooded sweatshirt, drove her a short while, maybe 3 or 4 minutes, stopped in a dark and secluded area, she doesn't know where, and told her, "If you see my face, if you tell the police, I will kill you." He then raped her, drove her back home to her apartment, but kept her underwear that she was wearing and told her that he might be back.
That is creepy on so many things, on so many levels,
so
obviously.
many.
Creepy and awful and terrible. It also kind of lets me know that like I don't want to say out of conscience, clearly didn't, but like he covered her face with a hooded sweatshirt. And then he also said, "If you call the police, I'll kill you." Well, you're going to, he already clearly, I think, knew he was going to drop her back off at home.
It's weird.
Like,
that he
how
did,
would he
right?
know? It's weird that he did. Thank goodness. And it's interesting that he said, if you call the police, because like once you drop her off, what do you know what she's going to do?
Totally.
I wonder if she did call it. I mean,
Well, she did call the police. That's how they know about it. That's how we know about it.
poor person.
And so the police are are looking into these attacks and found this attack. And they thought, weird, very close to where Brianna was staying. So that's why they looked into it more and went through the report. What was most interesting when police were like looking back over this case is that they had done, a rape kit on her, and they swabbed her mouth, her genitals. They took fibers from her clothes and things, and they had composed a DNA profile at the time.
Did it match?
It didn't match anything at the time, but remember, there was unidentified male DNA in the apartment where Brianna was taken.
Oh, did they match?
They matched.
Oh, well, shit.
Yeah.
It's the same person. They just don't know who it is.
Yep. Now, from what I understand, and I think you're right that we need to really dig into this in the lookup episode, the DNA profile, I'm not sure exactly how it works, but you can compose a DNA profile. And if you get a certain amount of hits, you have two DNA profiles. Maybe they don't match exactly, or maybe you don't have enough DNA from one of these to the other. But if they are close enough, you can kind of conclude that they are the same.
It's a match.
From the same person, right? So they concluded that this was from the same person.
So what you're saying is there's still a potential margin of error there.
There you go. That's exactly right. But it's the first real lead that detectives had in like a month almost.
You follow it.
Exactly. Unfortunately, the excitement over this new lead soon faded when on February 15th, 2008, this community that had like come together so intensely for Brianna and had been gripped by this kidnapping, they collectively kind of shifted from hopeful to heartbroken when a body was discovered in a field near a Reno business park, partially covered in snow. There's your snow. Albert Jimenez was returning from his lunch break at Subway, headed back to work, I guess. And when he was walking along the road, he noticed some bright colored orange fabric sticking out from under a discarded Christmas tree. And it caught his eye, and he decided to kind of walk over and see, what's this fabric about? And he discovered it was a pair of neon orange socks that were attached to feet. And at first, Albert thought that it was a mannequin that these socks were on. But upon a little bit further investigation, he realized it was actually a deceased woman. And he ran back to his job at a place called EE Technologies and called the police.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's...
Well, we don't know anything yet, though.
Well, no, I'm just saying that he thought it was what a turnaround of that guy's day. He's fine. I'm assuming he's living and thriving, living.
Which is more than he could say for the woman that he found.
That's what I mean, yeah.
So an autopsy conducted on the body the following day confirmed that it was in fact the body of Brianna Denison. It revealed that her body, which has been found 8 miles from the house where she was last seen, from Katie's rental house, had been there in the field for more than a week, concealed by a recent snowfall.
Okay, so it was February 15th that Jimenez found Denison.
Mm-hmm.
She went missing on the 20th, so it was probably even more than a week.
Yes.
But yes, that's the best they could do.
They said
that's
at
the best they could
least
say,
a week, but they assumed probably longer.
Yeah. Oof.
They believe that she was smothered with a pillow like we originally thought, and then she was sexually assaulted and strangled to death with a pair of thong underwear.
I know this doesn't matter. Her underwear?
Oh, it does matter. I'm going to tell you in a minute.
Oh, no.
DNA evidence collected from her body and the location where she was found matched the still unidentified male DNA that had been found at the house where she was abducted from and the previous sexual assault. So we still don't know who this man is. So at this point,
but we know what happened. We don't know who did it.
Right. And at this point, he's out there in the world. So it was kind of official to police and police's mind that Reno had not only a serial rapist, but one that had escalated to murder. So 4 days after Brianna's body was found, authorities released information to the public that they had found some troubling evidence when they discovered her body. There were 2 pairs of women's thong underwear found beneath one of Brianna's legs, containing both male and female DNA that did not match Brianna's. And one of the underwears contained a DNA profile that did match that unidentified male. So the one from the house, the previous attack, all of that.
And then not her DNA, but some females.
And one of the pair of underwear in particular was pretty distinctive. It featured stitchings of the Pink Panther on it and pink hearts. And they were able to, through talking to, I guess, friends or family, determine these were not Brianna's underwear. So police alerted the public of this because they felt it was important to focus on this unusual calling card, is what they were referring to this to. He left this underwear that was not hers with her.
What I want to know is, or what if I was the police, and this is why I'm not the police, is where does someone purchase that underwear? I guess that probably doesn't matter as much as the male's DNA, but let's go on.
I'm so glad you said that, because what the police deduced is they said this killer has a fetish for women's lingerie. They took his victim's panties and would leave a previous victim's panties at the scene of his new victim. So as far as they know, he hasn't murdered anybody yet until Brianna, but he has raped another woman and
stolen her panties.
Right. And they actually found that he raped 2 other women beyond that one that I described that was so horrific. So that DNA was connected to that woman who was taken in the truck, raped, dropped back off, and then 2 additional rapes within October, November, December of 2007. So right around the same time in the same area.
And he stole their panties.
And his DNA matched.
Ugh.
So they felt that, the knowledge that all of these attacks were the same man.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I'm digesting it.
This is extremely concerning, especially because these crimes had escalated from a couple, not that sexual assault is not super serious, but they had escalated from several sexual assaults to murder.
Another level.
A different level.
Awful.
Yes. And so Reno Police Lieutenant Robert McDonald said, this man is dangerous. There is nothing more dangerous I can think of as a predator who prowls at night and looks for crimes of opportunity. And he's preying on women who are substantially smaller and weaker than he is. So we had a type. All of these women were pretty petite, like 5-ish feet long, straight brown hair, and just tiny, petite women.
I want to ask about who he is, but I don't know that yet.
You will.
Right.
On January 29th, Reno police released a description and a sketch of this unknown perpetrator based on descriptions provided by the previous sexual assault victims. So they said he is roughly in his late 20s, early 30s with a square chin, a muscular build. He had an innie belly button and shaved pubic hair. He had some facial hair. He did not smell of alcohol, cigarettes, or cologne, and he spoke with no noticeable regional dialect.
I got a lot to say. An innie, I get if he had an Audi, you specify.
Yeah, that's true.
An innie, I think most adult humans have innies.
Innie.
Most, not all.
Yeah.
I used to have an Audi.
You did?
It went into an innie. This is not the time to make jokes, but that's a truth. He had a square chin and no accent, no smell.
No pubic hair. You're zipping your lips on that?
I don't like it.
I don't either. We're allowed to say that. A grown man with nothing? It's creepy to me.
Well, they didn't say nothing. They said shaved. I guess that could mean nothing.
No, yeah, it was completely void of hair in the downstairs area. Ugh.
I don't like that.
I don't either. So police strongly urge the public to come forward with any tips or information that could help find this man. Specifically, they asked for help from anyone who knew about the Pink Panther underwear.
Where was it purchased?
That was found near Denison's body. Well, I don't even think it matters who. They wanted to know whose it was.
Well, sure.
They were assuming it was another rape victim, maybe one that hadn't been reported,
Yeah.
Because 3 had been reported that were connected to him. Presumably, there may have been more.
Again, this is why I'm not the police, but that might have been an in to find out who it belonged to. If you find out where it was purchased, no?
Maybe. That's actually true. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. That's true. They implored to the public, please help us. We want all your tips. And they said that they received over 2,300 tips very quickly. Like people who thought, oh, I've seen this man. Oh, I saw a man who looked like this, whatnot. So many tips that they had to double the number of personnel working the tip lines. And they also, continued to employ help from the university detective as well as the FBI. They did their best to follow up on as many leads that seemed, reasonable or feasible. But for many months, all of these thousands of tips just led to dead ends until November 1st, nearly 10 months later, when a tip came in that would potentially change the course of the entire investigation. You don't want to miss what happens next in today's murder story, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a short message from our sponsors. So Reno Police Chief Michael Pullman said a woman called the tip line on November 1st, 2008, with information about a potential suspect. The tipster said a man she knew was exhibiting strange behavior and fit some of the suspect criteria that police had shared with the public. But, somebody who might like underwear, women's underwear, things like that. Police had also said, I left this out, but police had also said when they were imploring the public, they said, if you notice someone whose behavior has changed, they're acting weird or different, secretive, sketchy. Exactly. So this tipster called and said, hey, my friend has been dating a guy named James Biella. And my friend found underwear that wasn't hers in his truck when they were driving back from Washington State the other day. That's really all she said. She said that she thought he had been acting a little bit weird. It was weird that her friend found underwear in her boyfriend's truck. And police said the information, quote, indicated that James's activities and behavior made him a potential suspect. But at the time, they would not provide any further details.
Wow. Okay. So I agree that makes my ears tickle or whatever. And that means let's check it out. Also, I don't know. Yeah, I guess that made him a potential suspect. Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of underwear was it?
I don't know. Multiple pairs from what I understand now. Mm-hmm. Police, identified him as a potential suspect, and Detective Adam Wagnaski was assigned to follow up on the tip. He met with James Biella on November 7th. The detective interviewed him and asked if James would submit a DNA sample, but James refused. So Detective Adam noticed that James was very nervous during their meeting and that he would not make eye contact. He also observed that James matched the physical characteristics of the attacker provided by the previous sexual assault victims.
A square jaw, over 5 feet.
I'm guessing he didn't check his pubic hair. But Detective Adam also determined that James was the registered owner and frequent driver of a 2006 four-wheel drive Toyota Tacoma pickup truck with an extended cab and gray-colored interior, which matches the description that those previous sexual assault victims gave. And Detective Adam asked James about this, and James said that, I don't know what you're talking about. I had nothing to do with any past sexual assaults. I had nothing to do with the murder, and my girlfriend will give you an alibi for my whereabouts during the time of Brianna's murder or disappearance. They didn't really have any other physical evidence. They couldn't just take his DNA from him.
This is the thing that would bother me as a cop or an investigator, an FBI, whatever. Sometimes you have a gut feeling and a little bit of outward evidence or whatever.
Circumstantial.
Yep. And if you don't have enough, you can't do anything.
Yep. They had to let him go. I think that from what it sounds like, this Detective Adam really felt like this is our guy, but he couldn't do anything. So he had to let him go.
Understood.
So who is this James Biella? I'm going to tell you.
Italian.
Maybe. I don't know. He was born in Chicago in 1981. He was 9 years old when his family moved to Reno. People later in life described him as the life of the party. He was a known funny guy. He loved martial arts and took martial arts classes. He was also known to have kind of a quick temper, and some people described him as a bully. He joined the Marine Corps after high school and was promoted to the rank of Lance Corporal, but was discharged in 2001 for drug use. And in 2002, upon his return to Reno, he first came in contact with police and kind of having issues with police when he drunkenly threatened a former girlfriend's neighbor with a knife and was arrested. The former girlfriend filed for a restraining order against him, and he ended up pleading guilty in April of 2003 to a misdemeanor charge involving the knife incident. He had to do alcohol counseling and was ordered to have no contact with the victim. But because it was a misdemeanor, they never took DNA from him. So his fingerprints were in the system. He was arrested, but they didn't have his DNA. So eventually James went on to meet a new girl with whom he had a child with. And he was living with at the time of Brianna's disappearance in Sparks, Nevada, which is east of Reno. Neighbors described him as a nice, normal guy. No one noticed anything peculiar about him. There were even a few local police officers who trained alongside him in like martial arts classes who said like, he's just a nice dude. He's just pretty normal. But he wasn't pretty normal, as it turns out.
Outwardly, though.
Outwardly.
And everyone can put on a good mask, right?
And he did.
Yeah, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know clearly, but I'm guessing this is where we're going.
This is where we're going. On November 12th, 2008, the detectives, Detective Jenkins and Detective Adam, met with James's girlfriend. She willingly came in to talk to them.
The one that found the extra panties that weren't hers.
Yeah.
Oy.
Yeah. And so during the interview, she said that she had been involved with James for 6 years and that they had a child together who was 4 years old at the time. She also said that even though they had been living together, she could not account for his whereabouts during the early morning hours of December 16th, which was that initial sexual assault with that other woman, or January 20th.
And he had originally said his girlfriend, significant other, would be an alibi.
Mm-hmm, yeah, she said, I cannot do that. She confirmed that between March and September 2008, James had left the Reno area to work as a pipe fitter in the state of Washington. And he sold his Toyota Tacoma pickup, replacing it with another vehicle. When he decided to move back to Reno, this girlfriend traveled to Washington to help him make the move. And when they were driving back, that's when she discovered several women's thong panties inside his vehicle that were not hers. When she confronted him about them, he told her he stole them from a woman at a laundromat, which better than raping a woman and taking them, obviously. But if my boyfriend said to me, I stole this woman's panties from a laundromat, I would immediately be...
Weren't there follow-up questions?
I would assume so, but I didn't find that. What if Mark said to me, I found panties in his truck, and he said, I stole them from a lawn.
Okay, what would be your follow-up question to that?
Why? What the fuck is wrong with you?
And he said, okay, I just was doing my laundry, and I was putting it in the dry, and then there were some women's thongs in there, so I took them because they looked kind of cute, nice.
That's weird as fuck.
Yeah, I don't know where else to go with it.
Yeah, I mean, I would be like, that's weird. I would immediately think there's something a little bit off about you.
Totally.
Now, I think, okay, maybe that's a fetish. That's fine. You're allowed. It doesn't make you a rapist. It doesn't make you a murderer. It would put me off a bit.
It also makes you not my partner if your fetish is other women's underpants.
If you're taking other women's underwear, I'm not okay with that. You want to carry my underwear in your pocket? I think that's kind of weird. But like, I could be okay with that. Other women's underwear? Nope. No. No. So his girlfriend actually volunteered to provide a DNA saliva sample from their son to police.
Ooh, because the son has DNA from the dad.
Yep. And that could be compared to the DNA evidence that had been taken from everything else in this case thus far. And the test indicated that a direct relative of the young boy had left DNA at the home of Brianna, where she was abducted, and the other rapes that had taken place in previous months. So with this evidence, police were able to obtain an arrest warrant and a warrant for James's actual DNA.
James Biala.
Mm-hmm.
James.
Yeah, James is...
You don't deserve such a good name. I really like the name James.
I do too.
And guess what? Fuck you, James.
Fuck you, James.
Ugh.
So on Tuesday, November 25th, James was arrested while he was dropping his son off at the Stepping Stones Children's Center in Reno.
Oh, that's sad too, though.
Terrible, right? Terrible timing.
Pick a different time, cops.
Leave the kid out of it. Yeah. He was booked at the Washoe County Jail on charges of murder, first-degree kidnapping, and sexual assault. And after his arrest, they obtained a court order for a sample of his DNA and were able to confirm that his DNA was directly linked to the crime scene where Brianna was found and the other sexual assaults. In a press conference held by the Reno police on November 26th, so this is just the day after he was arrested, the DA said the disappearance of Brianna Denison started probably one of the most massive manhunts I've ever seen for a missing person in this community. Nothing we do here can bring Brianna back, but I think I can stand here now and say we did bring her justice.
Gosh, and those other women justice.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, Brianna too, of course, but like the women that weren't murdered too, that were raped. Oh my goodness.
It was also announced during this press conference that back in March, on his way to Washington when he was going up there for that job, he had sold his truck in Idaho. That truck matched the description of the vehicle that was used in the previous sexual assaults. So officials let the public know that this vehicle is being returned to Reno to be searched and used as evidence in the case that was being built against him. The DA also told reporters at the press conference that he would be prosecuting the case with one of his lead criminal deputies, Elliot Sattler, and his office would be seeking the maximum penalty for James Biella, up to and including the death penalty.
Oh, what did he get?
So he was tried for all 3 attacks. Now, there were 3 sexual assaults and Brianna's, but for some reason he was only tried for 2 of those sexual assaults and the sexual assault and murder of Brianna. And his trial started in May of 2010. During his trial, his public defenders urged the jury to consider that he had no previous criminal record, except for the knife incident, which, come on.
Oh, he had a public defender, though.
Mm-hmm.
I support and think public defenders do a lot of good. And also that means he didn't have a lot of money. Like
Right.
I don't know what point I'm making. That's it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
That's the point.
Period.
Point taken. So they urged the jury to consider that he had no previous criminal record and he grew up in an abusive, impoverished home in the Chicago area where his alcoholic father brutally beat his mother on almost a daily basis. Awful.
That might have been true. I have no idea. And if it
Sure.
was, terrible and sad.
And also,
Just that doesn't take you away from
doesn't excuse
paying
for your crimes. Yeah. Well, the jury agreed with you.
Thank
So after
goodness.
3.5 weeks of trial and testimony from 60 different witnesses, the 7-woman, 5-man jury found James guilty on all counts against him, which included kidnapping, sexual assault, and murder. This included the sexual assault of the 2 other college women and Brianna's and her murder. So before sentencing deliberations began, James apologized in court, saying he regretted that he would not be able to see his son grow up. He didn't say he regretted what he did, but he regretted that he wouldn't see his son grow up, which is very sad. But if you're going to go there, go all the way, dude. Apologize all the way.
Or just don't do it.
Well, yeah.
That's what
yeah.
I feel like.
Yes,
That is
sure.
sad. For a moment, my heart felt sad for him. My heart actually, I think, feels sad for his son.
Yep. So the same jury that convicted James deliberated for about 9 hours on his sentencing, and they ultimately rejected his lawyer's calls for life without parole. That's what they were going for, his lawyers. And they reached a unanimous verdict to execute him by lethal injection. They collectively decided that an unfortunate childhood, while still sad, it did not absolve James of the brutal rapes and murder that he had committed.
That's a really apt way to say it, a concise way to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Lots of people have sad childhoods. You don't go out and rape and murder people.
totally.
So he was sentenced to death on June 2nd, 2010. After the decision was announced, Judge Robert Perry told everyone in the courtroom, "My heart goes out to all the innocent people who have been touched by this tragedy." And he set July 30th as a date for sentencing him on the kidnapping and the 2 counts of sexual assault of the other women.
So just 2 months later, a little less than 2 months later.
Right. So the death sentence was just for Brianna. So on July 30th, 2010, Judge Robert Perry sentenced James to 4 additional life sentences for multiple counts of rape and kidnapping associated with the attacks on the 2 victims prior to Brianna's abduction and murder. And he is now sitting currently on death row.
Well, why is he not dead?
Takes a long time. You know, people get sentenced to death. It takes sometimes years and years and years because of all of the, well, I'm going to get to why in a second.
Oh, okay.
So after the verdicts at a news conference, Brianna's mom, Bridget Denison, said, "Together we lost a beautiful, vibrant, and promising life. And my family and friends have suffered unimaginable tragedy, but we can and will turn this loss into something positive and good. When James Biella messed with my little girl, he messed with the wrong families, the wrong women, and the wrong city and state. And she said through the Brianna Denison Foundation, they would work to toughen laws against offenders in an effort to prevent others from experiencing the heartbreak they suffered. So apparently, when someone is sentenced to death, I don't know if it has to. I feel like I read something that said it automatically does, which might be incorrect. We should check that. But it automatically goes into an appeal with the Supreme Court. So whether it automatically did or he pushed it forward, James appealed to the Nevada Supreme Court in 2012 with his attorneys arguing that his conviction should be overturned because the jury's decision was motivated by passion generated by extensive news coverage and an outpouring of public support for Brianna Denison.
What I want to say is, bottom line, even if that was true, it still happened.
Yeah, he still did it.
He still did the exact same things.
Right, 100%.
Yeah.
His lawyers also argue that his conviction should be reversed because one of the rape victims identified him only after he was named as a suspect in Brianna's murder. Justices said the woman identified him at trial as the man who haunts my dreams and said such testimony alone is sufficient to support his conviction. So they disagreed with his lawyers. And the Chief Justice, Michael Cherry, said there was nothing in the record to support James's arguments that the jury's verdict was the result of passion or prejudice. He said, quote, "To the contrary, the jury's findings of 23 mitigating circumstances and the 99 questions the jury asked during the trial," which is interesting because they were allowed to ask questions, the jury was.
Ooh, that's not typical, right? They usually are just sit and listen.
Yeah, so they asked 99 questions. And so this Chief Justice said, these questions that they asked during the trial provide ample evidence that it was an attentive, thoughtful, and no rush to judgment in the determination of either guilty or penalty. His death sentence ruling was unanimously upheld Thursday by the Nevada Supreme Court, who agreed that these crimes that were committed were of the class that warrants the imposition of death. So ultimately he appealed. They said, no fucking way. And he has continued to appeal. And his appeal has most recently been denied on June 12th, 2019, where the Nevada Supreme Court said, we stand by our judgment of his ruling. So something that's really interesting that came of this case is that Brianna's mother and another mom whose daughter had been raped and murdered several years prior, but around this time, they pushed for a new law to come into play. And in 2013, the governor of Nevada signed something called Brianna's Law. And the law calls for people booked for felony arrest to be swabbed for DNA. And that DNA will be entered into a national database, which then allows police to compare that DNA to samples taken from other crimes or other cases.
That's interesting because earlier you said, James, you didn't say he had a felony earlier. He had a misdemeanor,
right?
Which, sure, he didn't get DNA taken. I guess I would have assumed that people who are booked for felonies did get DNA taken.
Only if there's probable cause or reason for it. It's not
right, like if it's a rape.
But if you get a felony DUI, they're not taking your DNA.
A lot of times DUIs now, they take your blood.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, not just like blowing the thing?
Mm-mm.
Oh, I can't think of another like a felony breaking and entering maybe or something. I don't know. Something that doesn't involve murder or rape, bodily fluids generally.
Drug felonies.
Drug felonies. Yeah, great example. Geez, they're not taking your DNA, but now they are.
I don't think that's bad.
In Nevada, they are.
Right. I think that's good.
This is a look up list conversation, but there was a lot of debate, and I didn't spend the time now, but I will when we do the look up to collect all kind of the backlash that came about this because people feel it's an invasion of privacy. I don't know enough about it to really have an opinion right now. I do know that since this in 2013, this law was written into effect. Yeah, Brianna's Law. The collection of DNA has hit matches on approximately 500 burglaries, 86 automobile burglaries, 62 robberies, 3 arsons, 23 attempted homicides, and 9 actual homicides, including cold cases that date back decades. So this new Brianna's Law has helped to solve or find people who were involved in all of those.
I feel like you're telling your opinion without telling your opinion.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a good thing. I generally think that probably the positive outweighs the negative or outweighs the invasion of privacy to some degree. And maybe I'll change that point of view when I know more.
It makes me also think about how all of these people are doing. I know this is different, but it's a cousin to what we're talking about. The 23andMe shit.
Oh, yeah.
People are really, from what I hear, being found.
Yeah, I won't do it. I don't want my DNA to be just out in the world floating around.
Well, then get off my couch. I'm all, when you leave, I like swab it. No, but that's interesting. Yeah. Okay, go on.
No, that's it. That's the story. And terrible and sad and super scary. But I mean, the Brianna's Law and the foundation, it sounds like the mom said some good has come out of it. So
I also imagine the mom would rather none of that and her daughter be alive.
Of course. So our hearts and thoughts go out to the Denison family. And thanks for listening.
Happy New Year.
It feels like a weird
right. That's why I was kind of saying it weirdly, like happy.
Yeah, but it is kind of hard to like wrap up like this horrific murder story.
It's really sad and awful.
It's sad and
terrible, and we
awful.
don't know how to wrap it up.
Yeah, and so how do you go from that to like, okay, Happy New Year, guys?
That's how you do it.
Okay, there you go. Happy New Year. Stay safe. And
good night and good luck.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And if you want to see pictures of the victims, the murderers, and any additional related images, head over to our Instagram right now. Our handle across all social media platforms is death, then the letter X, and then Southwest spelled out. So DEATHX SOUTHWEST. Death X Southwest.
Death by Southwest is a Cavalry audio production.
Hosted by Jenna Schneider and Margot Carmichael.
Produced by Margot Carmichael.
Associate produced by Jenna Schneider.
Executive produced by Dana Brunetti and Keegan Rosenberger.
Audio editing and sound design by Revision Sound.
Music by Soundstripe.
And a special thanks to Edward R. Murrow for letting us borrow his famous sign-off phrase, good night and good luck.